Hello camera, I can't tell you my real name's guys, call me Andy, and hi. So, this is a really dumb idea for multiple reasons. So, basically, I am making this video to study because I have a test tomorrow. And part of the test is about the Enlightenment. The Enlightenment was a period of time when there were a lot of thinkers and philosophers who believed a lot of things, and they would grow to be the things that we believe today, or they would be the things that fell back, but they all defined it through logic and reasoning, and I'm just going to talk about that. So yeah, so basically, it started with the age of rationalism, which started with Descartes. Descartes was a man, and one of his most famous quotes was, "I think, therefore I am," basically saying that I know that I exist, but I don't know that anything else exists. If that did not give you an existential crisis, I don't know who you are or how you exist. So basically, he said that there was a physical world and a spirit and a thoughtful world, kind of. So basically, the thoughtful, spiritual, whatever you want to call it, is basically ideas. It's the world of ideas. Government is an idea. Politics are ideas. Any kind of ideas. Religion. I don't know, anything. And then the physical world is just the normal world, where I can't touch you, but like I can touch this notebook full of all my notes for the test I'm about to study for, and that I'm trying to study for, and you know, that's normal. So basically, he was the founder of Rationalism, which is basically saying, if I can logically prove something, then you can have a conversation with me on it. So basically, I can logically prove something, and if I can logically prove something, then there is a chance of it being true, and that is rationalism, basically. So yeah, so basically I'm looking through my notes if you're wondering what I'm doing. So basically that led to a lot of people using the principle of rationalism to try to prove what they think. So first, let's start with Hobbes. Hobbes was a man who, now I'm going to talk about human nature, by the way. He believed that humans were ruthless, solitary, brutal, barbaric, and basically a disorder. He believed that humans, all they wanted was self-preservation, and that was all they could ever need or want, and that was the best thing they could have. Okay, John Locke. He's another guy. Most people believe what he said, today at least. He believed in a tabula rasa, which basically said that people were born as blank slates. They weren't good or bad, and they were conditioned by their environment. So basically, if you wanted to change how people are, you have to change the environment that people live in. And finally, there's Rousseau, and he believed that people were born good but selfish. Basically, he said that people are good, but they are very selfish, and that is why we think that people that's why people turn bad, because they are taken over by this selfishness. Now, there's this thing called a social contract theory, where people agree to give up their absolute freedom, which is basically their ability to do anything, to form a government, because they want to be protected. Now, if you couldn't have already guessed, these protections were based on the things these people said. So, for example, Hobbes, who believed that people were born evil, thought that people wanted to make a social contract theory or a government so that they could preserve themselves. Therefore, he wanted an absolute monarchy, where the king had all power, and the people had basically no power. So the king could do anything he wanted, and anything could happen. And he could basically say, you have to do this, or you have to do that. And the king is allowed to do that. Now, if you're wondering, I actually asked this in class. I asked if people want to preserve themselves and they make an absolute monarchy so that everyone doesn't kill each other and everyone listens to the king, how do you know that the king doesn't kill people? And it is because the king wants to remain in power, and the people are going to revolt if the king just randomly kills people. Okay, so second is John Locke, and he believed that people made a government. So this is the guy who believed that people were born blank slates. He said that people made a government so that they can keep their natural rights, which are their rights to land, life, liberty, and property. So basically, he believed that people had a right to exist, to live. He believed that people had a right to be free, and he believed that people had a right to own land or have property. And this was extremely important back then because property basically defined you. Property was your main resource back then. Yeah, and that is why property was so important. He believed in a constitutional monarchy where basically the people write a constitution and tell the king, okay, you are allowed to do all the things that we wrote here, but you're not allowed to do all the things that we wrote here. And there's something like a parliament or maybe a legislative assembly or something like that that makes laws or basically controls what you do. And if you do not follow the rules, then they can put you out of power. And you are allowed to do these things. It's basically a constitutional monarchy is basically a monarchy where the king has limits. Okay, now third is Rousseau. He was the person who said that people were good but selfish. He believed that people made a government so that they could keep their property, because he believed that people do not naturally kill each other and do not naturally take away each other's freedoms. So he believed that people just wanted to keep property. Now he believed in a direct democracy, which is basically where majority rules, but even if you're in the minority, you have to subject yourself to the rules. And he called it a general will, where people basically majority rules, and that's the main idea of it. So yeah, thank you for helping me study. Love, love, life, and bye. I don't think I'm ever gonna upload this. I'm so bad at this.